So far we have learned how we can create a user and assign built-in roles to that user. But we can also create a custom role and we can assign that custom role to a user. So in this lecture, we are going to learn how we can create a custom role and assign it to a user. Now, in order to create a custom role, first of all, you need to be an administrator. Because as we have learned, only a database administrator can create or update users, or he can also define new roles and assign it to a user. Now, in order to create a new role, we have this method called create role. And using this create role, we need to provide a role name. For example, in built-in roles, we have read role. So read is the name of the role. We have read write role. So that is also a name for the role. In the same way, we have to provide a name for the role. Then we have to specify what privileges that role will have. For example, we need to specify the database on which that role will have permission. We can also specify the collection name on which that role will have permission. And we can also specify the actions which a user with this custom role can perform on that database or that collection. So let's go ahead and let's create a new custom role. For that, let's go to Mongo Shell. In there, currently I'm in the e-shopping database. From here, first of all, I'll switch to admin database because earlier we created two users and both of those users were created against this admin database. So whichever user is currently logged in, I want to log out that user. For that, I can say db.logout. So the logged in user has been logged out. Now I want to log in as an administrator because only an administrator can create a role. So for that, again, I'll say db.auth. Here we need to specify the username and password. The username for admin is admin and the password is test123. Let's go ahead and let's log in this user. So the user is logged in, the admin user is logged in, and this admin user has database administrative role. So he can create users, he can update users, and he can also create roles. Now to create a role, as we learned, we can use create role method. And here this R should be in uppercase. To this method, we need to pass an object, and in that object, we need to specify some properties. First of all, we are going to specify a name for the role. And here I'm going to call it as read, write, no, delete. Okay, so using this role, I want to provide the insert, update, and find privileges, but not delete privilege. The user with this role should not be able to delete anything from a collection. After that, we need to specify the privileges. This is going to be an array. In this array, first we are going to pass an object, and in that object, we are going to specify a resource. To this again, we are going to assign an object. In there, we will specify the database on which we want to provide the privilege. In this case, I'll provide the privilege on e-shopping database. Then we need to specify the collection on which we want to provide the privilege. So here I can keep it as empty if I want to provide privilege on all the collections of this e-shopping database. But here what I will do is I'll say that I want to provide privilege only on products collection. Or maybe let me keep it as empty. So let's provide privilege on all the collections in this e-shopping database. Then the second element of this privileges object will be actions. So what actions the user can perform. This is going to be an array. And in this array, we need to specify the actions as string values. So for example, the user should have find privilege. He should be able to query the documents from the collection. He should have insert privilege. He should be able to insert documents in this collection. And he should have update privilege. So he should also be able to update the documents in the collection. And if you want to provide the delete privilege also, you can also add that. But here I don't want to provide delete privilege for this user. Okay, and finally, the third property. So here we have role, privileges, and finally, we can also specify the roles array. So using this roles array, we can also specify some built-in roles. But here I'm not going to specify any built-in roles. All right. So now this create role method, it should create a new role called read, write, no, delete. And any user with this role will have privileges on this e-shopping database, on any collection in this e-shopping database, and he will have only find, insert, and update privileges on any collection in this e-shopping database. Let me go ahead and let me copy this command. Let's paste it here. And this time I'm going to create this role in e-shopping database. You can also create it in admin database, but I'm going to create it in e-shopping database. So I have switched to e-shopping database. There I'm going to paste this command. And if I press enter, you can see that that role has been created. Now I'm going to create a new user, and to that user I will provide this read write no delete role. And to create a user, I'm going to copy this command and let me paste it here. I'll change the username to Mark, and for the roles I'm going to specify our custom role. So the name of the role is read write no delete. Okay, here if you want you can also specify some built-in roles, but I'm not going to do that. Let me copy this command and let's create this user. So I'm going to paste this command, and remember that I'm creating this user Mark against e-shopping database. So he will be able to log in and log out using this e-shopping database only. Because as we have learned, every user is created against a database. Every user which we create in MongoDB is associated with the database. If I go ahead and if I press enter, the user has been created. Now let me switch to admin database, and from there let's log out the admin user. So for that I'll simply say db.logout. The user has been logged out. Let me clear the shell. Let's switch to e-shopping database, because this user Mark, we have created him against e-shopping database. So we are going to log in this user from e-shopping database. And for logging in that user, again, we are going to use this auth method. We are going to specify the username, which in this case is Mark, and password, which is test123. Let's see if this user is logged in. Okay, the user has been logged in here. So this user has been created and he has been logged in. Now let's try to, let's say, insert a document in one of the collections in this e-shopping database. So let me check what all collections do we have in this database. Okay, so as you can see, this user does not have access to check the collections. So what we will do is we will try to insert a document in the users collection. So I'll say db.users.insert1, and I'm going to insert one document where I will simply specify a name. Let's say test, and maybe age, let's say 28. And let me go ahead and let me run this command. So you can see the user has been created. Now I should also have the privilege to query all the documents. So what I'm going to do is, from this users collection, let me go ahead and let me try to find a document where name is test. If I go ahead and if I press enter, it has returned us that document. So this is the document which we created just now in the users collection. So user is able to query the document, he is able to insert the document. But now if I try to delete a document from this users collection, for that I'm going to use delete one, and to this delete one I'm going to pass a filter object where I will say delete that document where the name is test. And if I go ahead and if I run this command, you will see that we are getting this error that the user is not authorized on e-shopping database to execute this delete command. But he is able to perform insert, he is able to query the collection, and he should also be able to update a collection, update a document in the collection. So in this way, we can create our own custom roles. We can specify what privileges that role should have. So for that, we can specify the resources like the database name where the user should have the privilege, or the collection name where the user should have the privilege, and what actions that user can perform. Along with that, if you want to provide any built-in roles, that also you can specify using this roles array. So this is all I wanted to cover in this lecture. If you have any questions from this lecture, then feel free to ask it. Thank you for listening and have a great day.